Hey, look, it's Uncle Matt.
Yeah, like, yeah, kids can call me Uncle Matt, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not just, hey, I want to buy a house. Perfect. Let's go get that. All right, guys, here we are. Excuse us for being a little nervous at the moment, but we are starting a new podcast here. I'm Matt Sloan, and we're going to go into what I'm calling the come up. Okay, so to start off, I figured episode 1, introduce myself and talk about my story, talk about my come up a little bit. And today we have Gels to help me do so.
Hello.
Thanks for being here, Gels. Appreciate it.
Me.
You're the best. So I guess without further ado, we'll just get right into it and start my story, and then we'll dive into what exactly this is. Okay.
So Matt, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, okay?
Hit me, Charles.
All right. What do you do now?
What do I do now?
Yeah.
So right now, my gig is I'm a real estate agent. Okay. So realtor here in the Greater Toronto area, everywhere from downtown Toronto to Burlington and in between.
Do you sell any specific kinds of homes, or do you just kind of whatever?
No, I'm good. I get involved with anything right now: buyers, sellers, investors, everything from condos, townhomes, detached homes, luxury homes, name it, I'm there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this for?
Real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, real estate I've been doing actually just about a year and a half now. Last year was like my first full year in real estate and went really well. But yeah, now I'm just looking to expand on it and grow this business. Yeah.
So real estate, how old are you now? Like 30?
You're going to expose me like this? We're
you've been only doing real estate for like a year now. What did you do before?
Before actually, I owned a couple restaurants. I was in the franchise business, opened up my first store. Again, yeah, I'll expose myself a bit. But when I was 25, first restaurant then, and then got into my second restaurant shortly after that, but just decided to, to switch ventures, to try something else.
Anything in particular happen or any reason why?
Not really. I gave everything I could to the restaurant industry. I really did enjoy it. I love building a team. I love building systems. I love that customer service side of things. I love, feeding people lunch and seeing them walking out the door and full and happy and having a good experience. Everything went well there. I actually came out on top of it all, but it just didn't see a long-term goal with it. I wasn't going to hit what I really wanted to do. I was feeling like there was a ceiling there, and I just wanted to kind of punch through it. And I didn't think that being in the restaurant industry was going to allow me to do so.
Cool.
Yeah.
I heard something about systems.
Yeah. What about systems?
Systems are my jam. So tell me more about systems. Like what do you like? What kind of systems did you kind of build there?
Systems. Well, if we're going to go right into the business chat, the business world, systems. Yeah. I'm a strong believer that everything stems from a system. If you have a system in place, you can allow yourself to have a plan. And if you have a plan, you can kind of get to that end goal, right? No matter how long it may take, if you have a system in place, you can kind of start knocking things off. With no system, there's no plan. With no plan, there's no end result, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things I really liked about the restaurant industry was starting from scratch, opening up my first restaurant, and then putting those systems in place to kind of run through a lunch, run through a dinner, run through a day, build a team, etc.
Systems.
You like that one?
I like systems.
Okay.
So entrepreneurship, I guess it's been like in your blood for a while. Would you say like real estate is kind of like an entrepreneurial kind of adventure, or is it more like a business?
Entrepreneurship has been like as long as I can remember in my blood. My grandfather started a business. My dad ended up taking over that business. When I was growing up, I was always into, poker or gambling, or then after that was like my first like real job, or not real job, but full-time, part-time job was like working in a restaurant. And I always loved how you could get tips. And it was like, even though you're just working in a location at a restaurant, you can kind of have your own little business within it, right? Work harder, give good service, provide that value while someone's enjoying their meal. You get a good tip, get more money.
Selling yourself.
Maybe not selling myself, but selling a service or giving value, what I like to say, right?
When you're at a restaurant and you like the waiter, you get a good tip.
Yeah,
you give a good tip,
yeah,
right?
yeah, you use some things to your advantage. But yeah, so I think entrepreneurship was always kind of like within me there, and then had an opportunity to get into the restaurant world myself. Like I always was in the restaurant world, whether it was serving, bartending, managing, and I was always like, I just wish I could do this for me rather than for someone else.
You wish you could run the joint.
What's that?
You wish you could run the joint.
Yeah, well, the thing was, I was running the joint, but I was running the joint to pad someone else's pockets. So I quickly kind of turned into, okay, how am I going to do this myself now? Like, what am I going to do? And I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to open up franchise myself. And that's when I really realized, like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to run business. I want to build a team. I want to have control of what's going on. And then leading into real estate, as I left, the restaurant world, I was like, okay, what can I do to at least give me control and not have those ceilings, right? So real estate was a great option, and I loved it because a lot of what I did in the restaurant world actually translated over. So I want to provide a good service. I want to provide value. I want to make people happy. No one's happier than after like they've had a nice good meal, right? Well, you should see how happy people get when they finally found their dream home and got in their dream home and getting their keys. Like that's an experience that I never thought I'd, appreciate as much as I really do. And being able to be with people and have them like fulfill their own dreams, like, cause that's what it's all about. Everyone has a dream to, get in the market, get their first home or move up, and get their dream home, et cetera, right? And I get to help them do that now, all while running my own business, because again, I get to do things like this, podcast, get to, I can work as hard as little as hard as I want to. And the end result will show, just kind of like going back to when I first started in the restaurant serving, provide terrible service, you're not attending your tables, or you bring out the wrong food, or you're not happy, or whatever it may be, you get a bad tip. If you provide that value of what's on the menu, give some recommendations, bring the food out on time, remember everything they want, attend to them when they need a drink, etc., you get a good tip.
Serving those drinks is very important.
It's very important. Yes.
Okay, so wait, was that your first job? Restaurant?
Yeah, like I mean, growing up when I was in high school and everything, I had like little part-time jobs, like doing like the whole skate patrol at the free skates, or at public skating at the arenas and stuff like that. And then like the newspaper routes. But yeah, the first like job where, there was that real responsibility was, like the restaurant world.
Did you ever hustle on the side?
Hustle on the side. Maybe not the right way, but yeah, we played some poker, or, that kind of stuff. No real like side hustle though. No side hustle when I was younger, but there was always something in the back of my head that was always trying to like think, okay, what else can I do? So
So now that you are a realtor, and I bet you have a little bit more time because, like, being in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of hours, right?
Well, yes and no. That's what's so great about entrepreneurship. It's whatever you put in. Everyone thinks like, oh, restaurant world is so, time consuming because it's 24 or not 24/7, but restaurants open 7 days a week and you have staff there from 8 in the morning till, could be 2 in the morning. And everyone assumes like, yeah, the restaurant world, it's so hectic. And real estate, you have this freedom, and people think, oh, real estate, you have free time or you can do this. But at the end of the day, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful at whatever you're doing, like, you need to put the work in. So whether I'm in the restaurant industry or whether I'm a realtor, if I'm not showing up at the restaurant, if I'm not putting the time in there, that business is going to fail. That's not going to go anywhere. If likewise with real estate, if I'm just sitting on the sidelines watching Netflix, just picking up the phone whenever it rings, that business is probably not going to do so well. If I'm getting out there and I'm putting the systems in place like we talked about, if I'm doing the right things day to day and kind of following a plan, we're going to do pretty well.
What do you do when you're not working?
When I'm not working, I guess what I love to do, I'm either into fitness or into sports. So my days kind of consist of work, fitness, and sports. That, to summarize it.
What sports?
Sports. So I grew up playing like basically every sport there is. Being Canadian and everything, obviously hockey and everything else along the way. But the one that kind of grew a real passion for, and what took me to school and everything was golf. So I was a golfer growing up, got into golf seriously, loved golf, and really developed a passion for it when I was very, very young. But so golf is on the list, but then, I love my Toronto Raptors, so basketball's in there. Yeah. And yeah, honestly, any sports, that's how I kind of wind down. So the day's full of work, I'll get my fitness in there to kind of get that release, and then late at night when I have a chance and there's a couple games on, we'll flick on the TV finally and get into some sports. That being said, I do have a wonderful wife.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I saw you giving me that look. Make sure you mention Rebecca. Don't worry, I would not be here without Rebecca, and she knows.
She lets you watch sports all the time too?
Yeah, that's another reason why she's the best. But yeah, she's the rock. She's someone who supported me throughout like the transition and everything from going from the restaurant world to real estate. As you can imagine, it's probably not the easiest thing when someone just decides to completely switch gears and switch careers. When the other one's trying to grow their life. But yeah, I guess I'll share this story a little bit. I don't even know like how she's still with me when I look back on it. But this is basically talking about Rebecca, my wife, when she found out that I was gonna switch or leave the restaurant world. She was out of the country. She was working. She was down in Atlanta doing whatever project she was doing for her job. And I kind of had the last straw. It was something we had discussed, so it wasn't completely out of the blue. I'll give myself that sort of disclaimer, but had the last straw in the restaurant world, and finally knew like it was the right time. I had to do it. I had to get out. I had to make the change. And she was, like I said, she was out of the country, and I called her up at about like 5:30. And actually, I don't even know if I had the decency to call her because I'm a terrible person. I might have even just texted her being like, hey, I know you're away, know you're busy, but I'm getting out of such and such. Right. Yeah, I'm getting out of this restaurant world. Obviously my phone rang pretty quickly after that. Grabbed her attention. But yeah, we discussed it, and obviously she supported me the whole way through. Not to say that she wasn't scared or had her hesitations, but yeah, she was my rock through it all. Yeah, I don't know how she really did it and how she trusted me, but here we are today and things are better than ever. So yeah, thank you to Rebecca.
Behind every successful man is a woman.
I saw you just salivating there. Like, as I'm telling this story, you had that on your mind from the second I started talking. I saw you like, I cannot wait to say this one.
Had to throw it in.
Yeah, no, but you know what? There's a big truth to that.
So you guys make a good team.
That's a great word. I love it. Yes, we are a team. Yeah, she works crazy hours herself and everything for her job. She's a very determined boss babe, like to call her, but she works hard, and I try to support her just as much as she supports me. And I think we wouldn't be able to do it without each other, to be honest. But yeah, try to support and be that team, which is huge.
It's good.
Yep.
So you left the restaurant industry and you moved into the real estate industry. Sorry, I couldn't say the word for some reason.
Yeah.
What'd you learn from the restaurant industry that you can bring into the real estate industry?
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that I really liked about the transition. What I learned from the restaurant industry is a whole bunch of like customer service, consistency. I guess we'll just talk about the business side of things first. What I learned from the business side of things is like consistency is systems. I know we talked about systems, but consistency is another like huge thing that I'm about. So consistency, whatever you're doing, just be consistent with it. So referring back to the restaurant industry, consistent. So you want that lunch to go the same. You want that dinner to go the same. You want prep to go the same. You want that service to be the same. You know, if you look at a Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Pizza, etc., no matter what location you're at, they're all the same, right? So huge on consistency. Systems we touched on a little bit. So those were two things that I really took from it, and also a whole bunch of like managing, tips and tricks. So that's something that I would like to eventually get into in the real estate world, is kind of building a team myself, because I did actually love that part of the restaurant world. But then after the let's say customer service side of things in the restaurant industry, that's what I kind of really learned how to treat people and how to make their experience a good one, right? So we would always say for our customers coming in, they weren't actually customers, they're guests, right? So they're guests, they're not customers. You're going to treat them like they're coming into your home. Like you want them to have a really good experience while they're in your restaurant, right? So when I made this transition to real estate, I felt like, okay, there is so much that I can take from the restaurant world and bring it into real estate, because at the end of the day, even like people think real estate is so much on sales, like, oh, it's sales. Like, yeah, cool, it's sales. That's what's lining my pocket. But at the same time, I'm not doing that if I'm not providing that service. So customer service, like bringing that value, bringing that experience, bringing that expertise to that whole real estate transaction or journey, even from the moment, what I would call a friend now, right? We don't want to call them clients. I'll call them friends. Why not? Like, so I was just off the top right now, but I didn't want to call them clients because, yeah, like you build that relationship, right? So even
build a bond with them, you know what they want. Exactly.
Well, and you just know how to treat them, right? So yeah, maybe they're a client on day one, on the very first meeting or the very first phone call or whatever. But, on day 2, day 3, day 4, and as we go along, I'm really trying to, become friends with them, become part of like their family and build that relationship. And, because
look, it's Uncle Matt.
Yeah. Like, yeah, kids can call me Uncle Matt, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not just, hey, I want to buy a house. Perfect. Let's go get that sale. Right. That's not going to leave a very good experience. So something I took from the restaurant industry, to the real estate world, I wanted to give a good experience. I wanted to be there. I always pick up my phone. I always answer the text, always answer my emails like as quickly as I can. That's something that a lot of my past clients, friends, current, whatever, can attest to. And the reason why I do that is because, again, like I want to provide that service that I did at the restaurant industry. So for instance, just to relate that thing with the phone call, etc., to back to the restaurant world would be someone comes into your store and you're at the hostess stand or the host stand, whatever you want to call it. And you're just standing there, you're waiting to be seated, but no one's coming, right? Like how annoying is that? Like you're like, where do I go? What do I do? Right. And you're waiting, you're there, you want to have a good experience. So relating that over to the real estate world, someone emails me, texts me, calls me, whatever, and they're trying to find something out about what they're going to do on their real estate transaction, or they need some information in real estate. I need to be there. I need to be ready to go. I need to have that answer. I need to have that expertise. And if I don't have it, bet you I will find it within faster than anyone else. Because that's my other thing. It's always yes. Yes. Unless if I want to provide some guidance elsewhere, I'll bring the value and at least inform them that, hey, maybe it's not a yes to this, but this is why. And we'll go through that. And if you want to go back to that, then sure, either we can, or maybe, we're just not the right fit for each other. But from the service side, that's what I kind of took from the restaurant world. From the business side, again, systems and consistency. I want to be doing the same things throughout my day. I want to implement systems. I want to be able to contact my database, my clients, my friends, etc., and really build that business. And the only way I'm going to build that business is by doing such. So like I said before, I can't just sit around and wait for the phone to ring, because that's just not gonna work.
I'm personally really curious, like, do you have any mentors or anybody you learn from?
So I've had mentors in different areas of my life, different ways. I definitely have, I can ring off people that have helped me get here to where I am now.
Other than YouTube.
Yeah, other than YouTube, other than podcasts. But yeah, no, there have been people that have guided me along this way. And there's no one that can just do it themselves. If there's someone that thinks like they can just do things by themselves and have all the answers, they're kidding themselves, and they're gonna hit a brick wall very quickly. So yeah, of course, there's been people along the way that have helped me, and I'm forever grateful to them. But yeah, what I try to always try to grow and try to learn, and I'm not afraid to slide into the DMs or text someone or call someone to really pick their brain. If I see someone doing some good things, and I'm like, I need to get there. I want to get there. Or how'd you do it? I'll be the first to pick up the phone or make a message or a text or an email, whatever it may be, to get a hold of them. And hopefully we get to sit down and chat, and I can pick their brain. So that's something that I want to definitely provide with this podcast, because that's something I really, really love doing. I know I've gone through, the ups and the downs, or the transitions, I should say, is a better word. And I feel like people could really like relate to that when I'm talking about it, or when I'm asking someone else about like their journey and everything. That's the direction I want to go with this, because I love talking to people about what they've done and how they've gotten to where they are.
So it sounds like you've done a really good transition from restaurants to real estate. What do you think would be like the reasons for your success?
So all the things we just kind of touched up on, for sure, little bits and pieces from each of them, I'd say have helped me grow and helped me been successful this past year. If I had to pick one, my word for, so we'll get into the years now. So my word for 2019 was consistency. Okay. So I didn't really know what the year was going to hold, right? I had just kind of been in the real estate industry for a few months at that point. I'd started off really well, but again, never know where it's going to go, especially, in entrepreneur life, etc. So I went into 2019 being like, okay, if I'm consistent, if I've created these systems and put them in place, let the chips fall where they may, no matter how good or how bad it is, whatever, like, let's just be consistent with it. Consistent. So I was consistent with like touching base with, some of my database. I was consistent with social media. I was consistent with blogs. Again, like really like attainable things. I didn't reach for the stars. I didn't say, I want to make 100 phone calls a day, every day, like I just thought about a goal that I thought I could grab, and I just wanted to be consistent with it. And I just did that throughout the year. And and to be honest, like, I think that is why I had the year that I had. It's nowhere where I want to be, but it's a very good start for my first full calendar year in the real estate world. So that being said, going into 2020, now we're just a week and a half into January now, 2020. The word is expansion. So this year is expansion. 2020 is expansion. So 2019 was consistency. We created that foundation. We created that business. Like, I do really believe it's a business now. And 2020 is going to be expanding the business. We're gonna really turn it into something here. And like, that's what I'm really looking forward to. That's what I took from, everything that I've done in the past. Like, your original question there was, like, what did you get? What did you learn from it? Was consistency and how to kind of put that in place. And now we want to expand on it. So that's 2020. 2020 is expansion.
What are you going to expand on first?
First is just the business in general. So, for example, we're doing this podcast here. That's going to be one of them. That's going to create like a lot of social media content, a lot of being out there, a lot of providing value, getting the attention of, the listeners, and creating more relationships with listeners, and just provide something, right? Like, it's all about giving in order to receive, right? You can't just be there with your hand out all the time, right? Person there with their hand out all the time, it's going to eventually be empty, right? So you want to give. So I want to provide something with this podcast. I want to, provide like some motivation or some stories, or, kind of relate to people that are listening or watching. And then other things we're going to expand on is just kind of being the consistency level, like gearing it up a bit. So things that I've done in 2019 that I have been doing it, we're going to ramp it up a little bit. We've been doing really well, but now it's time to, okay, like, let's grow the team a little, whether it's bringing in, a part-time assistant, or bringing in a videographer, or bringing in a producer for this, or bringing in someone just to help with the books, like, etc. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a team to help sell and whatever home, but I want to build the people around me and create that support around me, because then that's going to help me provide better service and better value to the people that I'm ultimately working with.
Okay, so you want to expand, and you want to do it with like things like this podcast. Yep. Tell me a little bit more about what your goals are with this podcast.
So my thinking with this podcast was, giving something that people could relate to, giving some value to people that are maybe going through hard times themselves, or going through a transition themselves, or going through some form of hardship, or maybe they're already successful and they just thinking about, I want something more. Like, I want to grow more. I want to, kind of motivate people that way by having guests on this podcast. I'm going to be interviewing them like you're, talking to me right now, and hearing about their stories, because I feel like everyone has a different story, right? Everyone's gone through the ups and downs. No one's just like, anyone that's been successful, they're just not successful overnight. Like, it just doesn't come like that, right? And the few that are very fortunate, but I can tell you that I'm pretty positive that people have gone through some sleepless nights themselves to figure out where things are, like how are they going to get to that next step, and questioning, like, even if it's the right thing to do. I'm sure a lot of people want to eventually even give up on themselves through the times. I know there was during my times of transition, and even before I even made the move, I was like, I was scared. I didn't know, but I knew in my gut that the right thing, if I wanted what I wanted out of my life, I knew I had to get out of that restaurant world, or else I was never going to get there. And it was scary and it was tough. And, I questioned it a lot, but I finally got to that point where I was able to. And then during that transition stage, when, you don't really have that income coming in anymore, you don't have that like, I'm restaurant world 24 hours, and all of a sudden I have 24 hours in my day back. Like, there was a lot of free time all of a sudden, and there was times where I questioned stuff myself. So I know what it feels like to go through that time, and now having this past year go well and go kind of in the direction that I want. I'm not nearly where I want to be yet, but in the direction that I want. I felt like this worked. This can happen. Like this, I came out the other side, right? So I've talked to some people along the way, and I know that there's been other entrepreneurs and other business-like people, and it's not someone necessarily that has been self-employed, and they can be in the corporate world themselves, and they can be working a 9 to 5, but maybe they wanted to try something else or go a different direction. And, there's a story to be had there. And I feel like that could really inspire some people that are going through that themselves right now, or provide an interesting story to the listeners or watchers, etc. So that's what I want out of this podcast. So yeah, that's what I came up with.
To motivate people to make decisions on transitions and success and the come up of
just like
successful people, right?
Exactly. And just to let people know, like, don't give up during your transition, or if you're thinking about it, don't be scared to do it. Just kind of make a plan, create a system, put it in place, and it could work out, right?
Systems.
Back to the systems. Yeah.
Everything is a system.
And consistency.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
What's next? For this podcast, I would like to continue to grow it. Like, it's baby stages right now. This is literally the first one, episode 1, but I would like to grow this, in return, creating some value for the listeners to ultimately grow the real estate business itself. I would like to build my team around me so that I could bring on, someone else to kind of help guide them as they go through their real estate journey, and just to provide that ultimate service to the people out like looking to make a change in real estate. So just grow and expand, like everything that I'm doing right now, whether it's this podcast or my real estate business or fitness or whatever it may be. I want to continue to expand, and I think that that's why I chose the word expansion for 2020. It's just whatever I touch, whatever I think in the back of my head, I'm going to say, okay, will this help me expand? So hopefully at the end of 2020, we have a nice successful podcast here, or video, or whatever this turns into. It's okay. It doesn't matter. We're just going to be consistent with it and see where that goes. So that's that for the podcast side. And then again, for the real estate, same thing, just consistency and building it, and ultimately hoping that it expands into something greater.
Wow, I'm super motivated myself now. I feel like I can do anything. So if people want to find out more information about you, or get more inspiration, where can they find you?
Yeah, so on all social media platforms, I'm on my website, mattsloan.ca, or Instagram, Matt Sloan Realtor, Facebook, Matt Sloan Real Estate, or at my office, Royal LePage Signature. I didn't even mention that through all this, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm at Royal LePage Signature. We have 3 offices throughout the GTA, and yeah, you can find me there in the Mississauga office, where I'll spend most of my time. But yeah, honestly, you search for me on Google, I'll pop up, and that was one of my goals last year, is just making sure that I'm easy to find, because no matter how much like information I can give or can provide, if it's not accessible and it's not like visible, then how can they get you, right? So I was really trying to be out there through social media and online to create that presence, so I can be found. Cool.
Any last words?
No, well, I just hope you guys enjoyed today, and apologies for any rust in this first one here, but we'll get better. I promise we'll get better. It's just about jumping in and getting into it, which is something that we kind of talked about through this, and seeing where it takes you. So I'm trying to take my own words of wisdom here and listen to my own advice and just get into it and see where it goes. So
just start,
just do it. But I guess that's that. But Charles, thank you for getting in here today. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the people that have, for somehow reason why, listened to this whole thing or watched this whole thing. But I do really appreciate it, and look forward to the next one. Right? So yeah, thanks guys. Cheers.